Extinction Rebellion already understands a lot of the things that some movements take a really long time to learn. So I think that the emphasis on direct action and the importance of direct action is really critical, and I think that's something that is kind of baked into XR. I think the importance of kind of radical system change, that's also critical, because still a lot of the environmental movement is kind of focused on these individual lifestyle adjustments like flying less or recycling more, and those are fine to do, but they're not up to the scale of the problem. And then something that I think XR is doing that is really important that a lot of movements have failed to do is this idea of regenerative culture, is the idea of building communities that are worth being a part of, that are really welcoming and supportive communities that think about mental health and want to avoid burnout.
Where could we stand to learn from either movements that exist right now that are doing valuable work, or movements that have preceded us in history?
Yeah. I think there are a bunch of things that Extinction Rebellion can learn at this moment from other movements, and a lot of that in this context has to do with kind of transitioning from the UK to Canada, which is a very different situation in a lot of ways, and which gives us an opportunity to be reflective in terms of how we work and what our priorities are in general. So I think one of the key things to think more deeply about is the relationship with police. I think that the relationship with police in the UK has been very friendly in a way that does not translate very well to Canada. I think in Canada there has been there's been a lot of organizing, especially in Indigenous communities, but in other allied communities around missing and murdered Indigenous women and police violence. We've seen that as well, with Black Lives Matter, that there's a risk if Extinction Rebellion is too cooperative with the police, then it's seen as choosing sides, and ignoring kind of this legacy of profound police violence and racism. So it's really important to integrate that and that kind of decolonial way of thinking into how Extinction Rebellion engages with the police. And on a closely related note, I think the attitude about arrests, there's some potential for calibration that will help bring in more people. So sometimes I hear, the purpose is just to get as many people arrested as possible, and that if you join XR, that means you're signing up to get arrested. But I think that places too much of a kind of universal emphasis just on the process of arrest. I think it's worth thinking carefully about what are the other roles that don't involve getting arrested, and realizing that it's not just kind of about the glory of going to jail. That movements that have succeeded in the past and elsewhere, it's really a small percentage of people in that movement who are on the front lines, whatever that means. And the majority of people are doing other stuff like communications or support or recruitment or training or logistics like feeding people and raising money. And those roles are really critical. And a lot of people don't want to get arrested either. Maybe they're people of color and their experience with police has not been as gentle as the experience of a lot of white middle class people, or maybe they have kids or a precarious job, or their immigration status is uncertain. There are lots of reasons that people want to participate in other ways. So I think looking for those roles, looking for those opportunities to allow people to participate fully with different levels of risk, and celebrating and recognizing the necessity for those roles is something really crucial that Extinction Rebellion can look more at. So I think it's worth being just a little bit more reflective about how movements now and in the past have generated disruption in a way that incorporates maybe the risk of arrest, but doesn't make arrest the goal. That disruption of the status quo is the goal.